everyone, this is Ben Scow with Utah State University Extension down here in Washington County. We're in Hurricane, Utah. This is one of the orchards here that's the middle of May, and it's thinning season. So we're gonna go over how to thin peaches properly, what to look for, and how to do it, and what it'll look like when you're done. All right, so with thinning peaches, what we're looking at is we're trying to accomplish a couple of things. Two main goals that we're trying to accomplish when we're thinning. One is we're trying to lighten the fruit load that's on the tree. So the peaches and just fruit trees in general produce a huge amount of fruit, more than they can actually carry and sustain, and oftentimes the branches will get too heavy and we can often break branches. I've seen a lot of pictures where trees will even split right in two because they have just way too much fruit on the trees. The second thing that we're going to do and accomplish with our thinning is we're going to space out the peaches and allow them to get bigger. So we're going to space them out about 6 inches apart, and that gives them plenty of room to size up and get the size that we want them to be. So when we're thinning peaches, what we're looking for is we're looking for clusters of peaches. If you can imagine these each being a full-size peach, there's definitely not enough room for each of these to mature and become an actual good-sized peach. So part of thinning is we're going to space them out and give them plenty of room to be able to grow and develop into a nice big fruit. All right, so when we're thinning peaches, the only real options that we have is doing it by hand. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, we'll figure out which ones we want to keep. There's different ways that people thin. Everyone has kind of their own methods. I like to work from the back of the branch closest to the tree and work my way forward. So I will pick one that I want to leave. So I want to leave this one. This is the first one. Then I'm going to come out about 6 inches and take off everything until I get to that 6 inches. 6 inches is a little bit different for everyone as far as finger length. So for most people, an average hand, that's about 6 inches in between each fruit. So on this branch, I'm going to take off everything except for 2. To take them off, you can either grab it and twist it and pop it off, or you can reach at the base and pop it off as well. So I'm going to take off all of the peaches on that little branch, and we're going to leave 2, spacing them out about 6 inches. The goal is to do that on every single branch and work your way all the way around the tree. Okay, so timing of thinning when we actually do it in the year, it varies from part of the state that you're in. So here in southern Utah, it's about mid-May. We started thinning about the first part of May. You're looking for peaches to be about that big or bigger. You can really start thinning peaches at any time. Some people will actually thin them when they're blooming. So they'll go out and they'll thin out the blossoms. That totally works. Or people like to wait until they're about the size of a quarter, and then they'll start pulling them off. So these ones are getting a little bit big, but this is about as big as we want them to be when we start thinning, and the goal is to have them done within about a month. 1 to maybe a month and a half after flowering. Okay, so some of the other things that we'll look for while we're thinning, we can take off some of the problem fruit that we're going to have later in the year. So we can get rid of anything that has scarring on it. If we had a really good windstorm that went in, some of these branches are long enough that they can hit up against the branch and they'll cause scarring. You can recognize that when you're thinning and pull them off and toss them. If they're deformed, sometimes they will only pollinate halfway, so you'll get one peach that has half of it's really full and the other half is pretty much flat. And we can take those off at this point. Doubles, so this is a really common problem, is you'll get peaches that start growing too close together and then they're connected. They're still going to taste fine, but they're not going to keep in the fridge at all, so you can tell that they grew together. And we want to get rid of those early in the year if we can. Another common question I get is with these guys. So with the peaches that we're picking, we're just dropping them on the ground with the thinning. So as we're thinning, we're just taking them off the tree, letting them fall on the ground. We're taking off at about 80% of the peaches. So we're taking off most of the fruit, and what we're leaving is going to size up and get to be an excellent size. We always tell people that you can get 100 pounds, 150 pounds of peaches off of a tree. You can either get 150 pounds of little tiny peaches that are a little bit more difficult to work with. They're going to be mostly pit at that point. Or you can get 150 pounds of fewer but much, much larger fruit that you can actually do quite a bit with. But as we're taking these off, we're dropping them on the ground. They're just going to decompose, go back into the soil and back into the tree. The question that I often get from people, are they going to sprout into a new tree? And the answer for that is no. They'll just decompose. They're not mature enough to actually have developed a viable seed. That would come at maturity. So if you have a fully ripe peach and it falls on the ground, at that point, the pit in the middle is a viable seed and it could produce a new sapling. These ones where they're just barely forming, they're not mature enough, they're not going to be viable, and they're just going to decompose and go back into the soil.